Hey folks, Dr. Mike here for Renaissance Periodization, and a way that you can make your next muscle gain phase better is to get leaner before you actually start it. What? But I thought that the gains come from the gains, not from the fat loss. You're completely correct. And to that end, I will not be discussing the P ratio in this presentation. Used to think back in the day, for not overly convincing reasons, that if you got leaner, the fraction of muscle you gained versus fat on your way back up during massing favored muscle, so that if you were started when you were leaner, you were going to gain more muscle than if you started when you were fatter. Lately, a lot of it due to the excellent skeptical work by Dr. Eric Trexler and Mr. Greg Nuckols, we have a bit of a realignment to say, well, it's just not really very certain if the P ratio behaves as once claimed. As a matter of fact, it's more likely that there's not really a difference in P ratios anywhere in the teens of body fat and maybe even mostly through the 20s. Of course, when you're 30s and 40s% body fat, all kinds of wacky stuff can happen. At that point, you're probably not even very healthy, and health needs to be number one. Nobody really cares how much muscle you're gaining at that point. But the P ratio, we're going to put that aside because there are at least, let me count them, 5 other reasons why starting your muscle gain phase a little leaner and not trying to rocket up in body fat super quick can be really, really good for the productivity of that muscle gain phase and for other reasons, which are maybe in some cases as important to you, like the psychological. So here we go. First, assessing where you need to focus. If you never get very lean on a fat loss phase and you start bulking up, it can be very difficult to tell where your problem areas are, where you should be coming up. Is your back the weak link? Is it the lats? Is it the chest? Is it the shoulders? Is it the biceps? Is it the triceps? Well, if you look like a fucking blob, it's kind of hard to tell. But if you get nice and lean, well, call it 10 to 12% body fat for males and something like 18 to 20% body fat for females, you're going to be able to see a whole lot of what's going on and be like, aha, side delts, triceps, that's my focus, because compared to my biceps and front and rear delts, that seems to be the lag. But if you were much fatter, it would be very difficult to tell. First, small benefit. Second, hunger and fullness. You guys all know the tragedy of trying to gain weight and having to stuff yourself and feeling sick and all that other stuff. Well, if you get very lean before you mass up, you're fucking hungry kind of all the time. And then you don't have to stuff yourself to hit a surplus. You actually eat an amount of food you feel quite good with, and you automatically hit your surplus. You can enjoy regular food a ton. You can mass up relatively clean, cheap foods like rice and beans and chicken and all that stuff. You don't have to go out to eat all the time because you can't eat the shit anymore because you started out too fat and now your hunger signaling is meh. And in addition to that, when you have cheat meals when you're leaner, they're extra special, super fun, and you love to eat them and they're a blast, versus cheat meals when you're massing and you're really fat, you're just kind of sweating at Olive Garden and chewing really slow. People don't know if they should call the police or animal control. Point number 3. When you are leaner, your endurance for training, that is your ability to breathe in a way that is normal between sets, recover your breathing better, not be limited by cardiovascular effort during the sets, especially for higher reps, is going to be way, way higher if you are leaner to begin with. Leanness is a huge factor in endurance. I've tested this out on myself about 100,000 times. If you're leaner, your endurance is better, so your training effect can be better as well. Especially if you start to gas out on things like higher rep squats, presses, rows, leg presses, hack squats, lunges. If you're pretty fat, leg training especially can be fucking hard. And you know that you're really just limited by your cardio. So your legs are actually getting the short end of the stick. If you're leaner, you can push your legs further and the rest of your body further by recovering more completely faster between sets, and within each set, being able to have the limiting factor be your muscles, thus being very stimulative hypertrophically to them, versus the ending a set because you're breathing so fucking heavy. Your quads are like, hey bro, we're still good, but your lungs are like, fuck that, rack the bar, I'm gonna go ahead and die of old age. Number 4, this is the joie de vivre, this is the reason why most of us train. If you are leaner when you start to bulk, you're in this position where while bulking a month in, you're still pretty fucking lean. You have chest veins and you're fucking eating burritos. I mean, life just doesn't really get much better than that. The motivation to keep gaining is also really high. Not only are you having a fucking great time, someone's like, hey, you ready to add 5 more pounds or 10 more pounds to your frame? You're like, absolutely. If you're already fat, you got love handles pouring off, someone's like 5 more pounds of bulk, you're like, man, fuck, I want 50 negative pounds of bulk so I don't have to be a fat piece of shit anymore. But if you're lean while you're gaining, it just makes gaining really fun and really enjoyable from an aesthetic perspective. And lastly, number 5, a physical comfort perspective. Being heavier sucks dick. Guys, trust me. I'm 5'6", I weigh 250, I'm at the top of mass phase now. I can't even fucking sleep normally anymore. Fucking CPAP machine on the way or whatever. I luckily got out of the having to use one for bodybuilding for now. And gee whiz, it's just really close. It's awful. Good thing is, I'm still fairly lean. Maybe it doesn't look like that right now. Who the fuck knows? But I'm around 10%-ish body fat. I know. Let's hear the comments about how I'm not really 10%. I'll just shoot you a DEXA and you'll shut the fuck up. Actually, the DEXA is on my Instagram. Feel free to check it out. So in any case, shit talking aside, being leaner is helping, but at some point just getting heavier sucks. But if you are 250 pounds and you're 10% body fat, you feel a shitload better than if you're 250 at 30% body fat. You should rather just be in the low 200s at that point. You'll have all the same muscle as otherwise. You won't have as much scale weight, but you will physically feel 100,000 times better. You'll sleep better. You'll move better. You won't be sitting at your parents' picnic and sweating on the fucking hot dogs. Being heavy blows dick. And if you can be leaner, you don't have to be as heavy. Fat also insulates, especially from heat. So if you're living in warm environments or your gym is a warm place, if you're bulking and if you're fatter, your life's just going to fucking blow 10 different kinds of dicks unless you manage to curtail a lot of that fat gain slowly, get a little leaner, and then everything will be much better. So the goal here is to get more folks, not everyone, there's a lot of the situational, more folks to mass no higher than about 15% body fat if they're male, cut down after that to go to 10 to 12 and restart the process, or something like 25% body fat if you are female and spend your time generally between 20 and 25% fat. If you can stay in that window for your bulking and your cutting, you may have a better time, a more effective time, and a more enjoyable time. Let me know what you think in the comments, like, subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys next time.